This is the House of Hockey podcast on the Hockey Podcast Network. Hockey is more than a game, it's a lifestyle. It's you, the diehard supportive fans, your favorite players who are on the team you cheer for, and the organization who supports them.
The companies that make your gear, bags, and beer league sweaters. The hockey moms and hockey dads, and everything else that makes this House of Hockey your home. Come on in. I'm Breezy.
And I'm Rae Rae.
And this is our house.
Basketball season won't be around forever, so get in on all the action now with DraftKings. The leader in one-day fantasy sports, DraftKings is giving new players a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. Claim your free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes when using code THPN, that's the Hockey Podcast Network, during sign-up. Playing daily fantasy basketball is simple. Just pick your lineup, stay under the salary cap, and see how your team stacks up against the competition. Feel the sweat like never before. Every dunk, steal, assist means so much more with a DraftKings daily fantasy lineup. Baseball fans, you may have missed out on season-long fantasy, so now is the time to get in on all the daily fantasy action where DraftKings has even more ways to make it rain. With DraftKings, payday comes every day for players, so what are you waiting for? Head to the app now and download the DraftKings app now using code THPN, that's THPN for the Hockey Podcast Network, during sign up. This week, DraftKings is putting you in the action with a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. That's code THPN, and you can get a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes only at DraftKings. Minimum $5 deposit required. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details. We're appropriately both wearing our respective teams that are in the hunt for a spot in the Central Division.
We are. Yeah. So I feel like there's a lot of teams that should be like already clinched based off of point structure. More than what's already done. Like I think
Right.
Carolina and Florida should be clinched, but they're not. So maybe today's the day. But they say a six could come back next week, which could help Dallas. But I think the Blackhawks are going to sneak in there somehow. So
I wouldn't be surprised if the Blackhawks snuck in. We can't beat the Predators to save our life. Like that was a fluke. No, that was a fluke. That was a fluke. And actually, somebody messaged me and said that the Predators are the Blackhawks' kryptonite. And I corrected them and informed them that it is Colleton's kryptonite, not the Blackhawks, because Coach Q didn't have any issues with, navigating some of those rivalries. But I think that it's Colleton's kryptonite.
But I do have to say that the Preds have struggled against the Blackhawks for God knows how long.
Mm-hmm.
And so to see it now kind of be reversed is cool, because that just shows like anything can happen in hockey, right?
Yep.
But not every team is going to, like, you can't win every single game. So the Preds have gotten super lucky, and the Blackhawks were just super unlucky to just not, be able to overcome, one another throughout the entire years. But I think that it's not the end of the world. I mean, obviously I'm not a Blackhawks fan, but it's not the end of the, because I guarantee next season the Blackhawks are going to probably sweep the Preds.
I don't know. I think I hear what you're saying. I hear you, Breezy, and I agree with a lot of the points you're making. But I think the frustration lies in the fact that we are playing you 8 fucking times.
Yeah.
And multiple times back to back. I know, but like if they can't adjust in this situation, they're not going to be able to adjust to anybody in any series. Do you know what I mean?
Playoffs. You're playing the same team multiple times in a row. So yeah, it makes sense that you have to come out guns blazing every single game, and you have to overcome and correct your mistakes that you made prior games and prior shifts even. The game changes like that. So
That's what I'm saying.
I see your point. Yeah.
That's where in lies the frustration is like, if
Yeah.
you can't beat them, you're beating them one time out of, what is that, 7 now? 6.
Yeah, I think so.
Whatever.
I don't know.
It's
Yeah.
too many. It's too many times, and like not even close last night. On what was so Friday night. Not even fucking close were the Blackhawks. Just being dominated by your 1-3-1. Like it's frustrating, and I think that's in coaching. That's in coaching. That's in ability to get your players to adjust to a different style of game. And and I think Bowman is to blame. He's so adamant that the Blackhawks play that style of hockey, and they are not adjusting for the teams that they're facing. And you can see the proof is in the numbers in this situation, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, I do have to say that I think the Preds and Blackhawks rivalry is probably one of my favorites, and I think it's super underrated. I think that people don't really get it, but maybe it's just because it's kind of a rivalry between the two of us. So I think it's like kind of cool, but like we don't rub it into each other's face. It's all fun and games, but it's probably one of my favorite rivalries, through the whole entire league. So
I just want to say how much I appreciate that you and I don't rub it in each other's faces. Like, we'll joke about it here and there, and like with the Kings, and like if it's relevant, like we'll throw a little bit of a dig, but not that like really hardcore aggressive kind of thing, which is really not my style.
Well, I mean, it's even when I text you when the Hawks won. I mean, that was a great game. The Hawks, they deserve to get that OT win. But I mean, just kind of proves that we're good. I text you, and then you told me I can't be a Blackhawks fan because I didn't need another team, and I was totally okay with that. But you know what? I support you and your team and your decision. That you said that's more than you would do for me, but that's okay.
Yeah. I did. I mean, I would be happy for you, Breezy the human, if one of your teams won the Stanley Cup. Like, I would be happy that you got to have that experience again, though I feel like you would be a lot happier for me in that situation than I would for you. Like, I wouldn't be mad. But obviously that would depend if like our teams were facing each other, which that can only happen in certain scenarios. But like if the Kings and the Hawks were facing each other again, like I don't know that I would. No, I like you enough that I would be happy for you. And that's like good. You don't give me shit, and you don't like throw jabs all season long. Like if you were doing that, I would not be happy for you. Like if
we would have to put the pod on hiatus for a while.
Yeah. If you were
like, I can't talk to you.
Yeah, if you were like shit talking me the whole series and like just going at it, I would not be happy, because I would be very like mad, because I wouldn't be shit talking you. I would be just way too stressed out about the team and Colleton and what they're not doing right to like even be bothered with telling you about anything. I would just be like, they played horrible.
This is episode 59. After that rant, that was awesome.
Yeah.
Episode 59, we have 2 guests in the house today. You'll hear from them in just a little bit. We have Kelsey Neumann and Carly Jackson, aka CJ, both goalies for the Buffalo Beauts. It was really cool to talk to them, and basically pretty much about the women's sport, which obviously had some stuff happen this past week, which we'll probably dive into. But before we dive into that, I just kind of want to commend you a little bit. I'm going to stay on this nice streak that we've had. I feel like you do so much on your end in the hockey world. I mean, way more than the Hockey Lady, the podcast, and all this stuff. I mean, you're going on other people's pods. You're talking about the women's sport. You're really diving into it and really having open conversations about it. And I watched your video you did yesterday.
Yeah.
It was yesterday.
The interview with Amy.
The interview. Yeah. The interview that you did, which was yesterday, but when you hear the pod, it's going to be a few days prior. And it was so cool to see because it's like you're having great conversations about it. And I think you're really opening up everybody's eyes to the women's sport, which I think is what everyone needs.
Well,
So
thank
good job.
you. Thank you for saying those kind things. I like talking to people about the sport, broadcasting, sharing from my own experiences. I've had quite a few bad ones, but that's where you learn. I've had a lot of really good ones, but I
Yeah.
don't know, hopefully my story will inspire somebody or encourage them and make them follow whatever it is their passion is. But the other thing that was really interesting with that conversation with Amy was her first question was like, what's it, something along the lines of like, what's it like to be a woman in sports? And the first thing I said was, I don't lead or think of myself as a woman.
Hmm.
Like, I'm just Rachel, and
Yeah.
this is just what I do.
Right.
And like, I'm very aware of the fact that there is obviously a difference and there are different perceptions, and women only fill certain roles in the broadcasting world of sports, and
Yeah.
all of those things, which is relevant because it's part of the conversation we have with our guests today, which is just getting, how do you get the marketing dollars and attention on women's sports? Like, it's
Hmm.
the chicken and the egg. Like, not enough people know about it, not enough people know about the NWHL or the PWHPA. Yeah, I just want to talk hockey. I
Yeah.
don't care if it's women or men playing or World Juniors or any of it. I think there's a lot of really great professional hockey to watch and talk about, and personalities. And for me, with the sport of hockey, men and women playing is just as exciting
Yeah.
for me.
Definitely.
I love both. I want to find a women's team that I can commit to and back and be like, I love those Buttes goalies. Like, they're so awesome. And I love that camaraderie they have. But like, we don't know enough about these
Right.
players, and they haven't been around long enough, and I haven't been to a game because COVID. But even before that, I wasn't living in a place where there was a professional women's team. So it's all of these things that contribute to it.
The beauty of it, and it's going to be funny to say that because, well, we're talking to the Buttes,
Hmm.
but we get to learn about a couple of goalies that play for a professional women's hockey team today. And I think that the
Exactly.
listeners are really going to like it. So,
Exactly. That's the whole point. I really hope everybody listening sees that they have just as much passion. I would dare say more personality than the men. Would you
definitely.
agree? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think that the men want to show personality, and there's very few that do. I mean, you got PK Subban, who definitely shows his personality. There's a couple guys that, I can think of off the top of my head that do, but a lot of them I think are afraid to. And that's just the nature of the sport. That's kind of what's been drilled into their heads. I mean, I would love to know what Connor McDavid is like
Right.
outside of his like straight face bubble. Um, and I
Right.
think that he deserves to have a chance to show that side of him. But I just think, given the circumstances and who he is and what he means to the Oilers organization and to the NHL as a whole, he can't.
Yeah.
And is that an issue? Maybe. Like, I don't know. I don't know the details of it. You don't know the details of it. So we can't really comment on it. But um, the fact that
I
the
I
women don't have anything to basically, they have nothing to lose. Like,
Yep.
they could show everything that they want, and maybe it's a bad thing to do because maybe the professional league thinks down upon it. But I think that at the end of the day, that's only what's going to grow the sport is showing personalities.
I agree with you 100%, and I think the NHL should take a little bit of a page out of the women's book and see just how profitable it can be if you give them some guidelines. Like, I definitely think you want to rein it in a little bit. Like, we don't want to hear a lot of the stories that go on, but we
Yeah,
want to hear certain ones. And I think if you give them a little bit of parameters, but not the iron fist like the NHL, you can figure it out, And I
I
think you're going to
agree.
hear from the girls' stories. They share, I think, maybe better stories than some that we've heard, but also, again, that goes to the point, like, the men aren't allowed to share a lot of these stories. They get in so much trouble for sharing certain things, but nothing these girls talked about would get them in any trouble, in my
No,
opinion.
no, not at all.
But just like pure, hilarious, genius stuff.
Yeah, so stay tuned for that.
It's the IIHF, is the organization that puts on the Women's World Championship. And here is what Kendall Coyne, who plays for Team USA, said. Her and her teammates boarded a flight to our respective homes at 5 o'clock this morning instead of getting on a bus to Halifax, Nova Scotia. Why? Because the public health officials in Nova Scotia canceled the Women's World Championship due to safety concerns. I understand and agree with putting health and safety first, but these are similar safety concerns that they had months ago when they started planning for the World Championships and also, I believe, the World Juniors. And everything went off. There's a whole longer thing, but they had their final skate in Portland, Maine, and the general manager stepped on the ice to tell them that the tournament was canceled. And they also have not set a date. They have no plans. They haven't done anything. There was no contingency plan, but they had everything set up for the U18 Men's World Championships. So why not the women?
No one knows.
Yeah. The NHL played in a bubble and we've got all the blueprints. We know how to make this work.
Yeah.
Is it funding? There's a lot of things left unsaid in this. Is it funding? Is it who foots the bill for that tournament? Did advertisers back out? Did they just decide to blame safety concerns with COVID? I don't know. Either way, whatever the reason is, it's not good because they should be able to play. And the women's world championship is just as exciting
Yeah.
as the men.
Yeah. I don't know. It sucks.
Another.
There's nothing you could really do or say that's going to make it up to the girls that we're going to be playing. And they don't deserve it. I don't think, well, not just them. I don't think anybody deserves it,
Yes.
to be honest. It just really is unfortunate that it constantly happens to the women's side of it. Hopefully we'll be able to see some changes. And hopefully they'll be able to play. It just kind of sucks that they don't have an ETA date, but given certain circumstances, maybe an ETA date will follow in the upcoming weeks. But I think that they deserve to know, yes, a date will be coming, not just, oh, nope, canceled.
Right. And like the day they're supposed to leave to go to the tournament. That would never happen on the men's side of things.
No, not at all.
Ever. There would be riots.
That's just like a lack of respect, to be honest.
I agree.
I don't cancel on you like the day of we're going to be recording or something. Like, it's, if you can't make it work, you can't make it work. But it's just with all, like, you have to have respect for, your partners, your coworkers, whoever it is. Like, you need to give them something, or else they're not going to respect you. And when the players start not respecting their league, what do you have? You have nothing. That's going to get bad.
Right. And that's the thing that you don't want to have happen is more boycotts, more division amongst the women. You need to unite. It needs to be, we need to be on the same page if you want this thing to grow. Our podcast is proud to be on the Hockey Podcast Network, and the network is home to many other incredible podcasts, including this one.
Now a show that's going to give you the truth about the biggest epidemic of our times. We're all a little crazy.
We're All a Little Crazy is brought to you by the Same Here Global Mental Health Movement and the Hockey Podcast Network.
This is NHL great mental health advocate and member of the Same Here Alliance, Theo Fleury.
This is 20-year professional sports executive, mental health advocate, and founder of the hashtag Same Here Global Mental Health Movement, Eric Hewson.
This is Darren Ravel, sports business insider, mental health advocate, and founder of the Same Here Influencer Alliance.
We're so afraid as a society to rip the Band-Aid off the topic in a real way. Anytime you open up about something that's controversial or taboo, the first one through the wall always gets bloodied.
And that's why we're doing this. We don't mind being the ones getting bloodied. We put our stories out there well before it was a thing to do for a reason. Because as much as they're extreme examples of how far you can fall, they show everyone the challenging life experiences impact everyone, even those of us who have reached the top of our competitive industries.
The issue in media today, traditional media and social media, we are so quick to look for simple answers, simple explanations. We want everything wrapped in a bow. But this topic is messy. The nuances need to be explained.
Yeah, it needs real, long-form conversation like this.
I'm just thrilled that we can be real with people and address the current events happening in this space in real time and set the record straight. More talk happening doesn't mean it's helping the conversation move forward. The words we use matter.
We have the greatest mental health awareness in the history of our planet, and yet the mental health trends and outcomes are awful. It means the current messages aren't working.
Find me a person who hasn't faced trauma in their lives. Anyone. You can. Things have affected all of us. It's why we all say we are all a little crazy in our own unique ways.
This topic isn't for 1 in 5 of us with mental illness. It's for 5 in 5 whose mental health has been impacted. This isn't an athlete issue. It's not a musician issue. It's a societal one. This is the greatest epidemic of our time.
No, it's not about stopping any stigma. It's about us all saying same here. Our openness and the commonality in our struggles, that's what erodes stigma better and faster than any campaign telling people to stop anything ever will.
Available on all podcast apps. Do us a favor and download each episode before you listen. And if you're an Apple user, please rate and review the podcast as it helps us get these important conversations out to reach a larger audience.
All right, guys. So it's time to bring in our guests. This week, we have a couple of Beauts on the pod, literally. Welcome, Kelsey Neumann and Carly Jackson, aka CJ, both goalies for the NWHL Buffalo Beauts. I hope you enjoy this interview with them.
Let's just jump into it. You guys are teammates. You're both goalies for the Buffalo Beauts of the NWHL. Describe your dynamic together.
I'll say we're very goofy. We have a lot of fun, and especially with our other goalie partner, Katie. We definitely don't take things too seriously, which is not typical of goalies, I guess. But I think we have a really good dynamic.
Yeah, we just laugh a lot. It's kind of been that way, honestly, since day one. When I arrived in the fall, or I think around November, December this year, when we finally got to get together. Our little trio of goalies, like, the first day we were making jokes and just like laughing around and kidding around on the ice. So it's honestly one of the best dynamics to play in, and it's just so fun. It's just so easy to play with Kelsey and Katie. Like they're so encouraging and they're just fun to play with. I always got a smile on my face.
Who's the weirdest? Who's the weirdest of the goalies? Yeah.
I think it would depend, honestly. Yeah. It depends on the situation.
Okay.
And what we're doing. I mean, I'm the one that prior to both CJ and Katie coming to Buffalo, I would go around Buffalo and my goalie equipment with like my previous goalie partner, who's now the starter for Minnesota and is one of my best friends, Amanda Levier. So I feel like that helps. But we definitely all have our weird antics to ourselves, I guess.
Yeah, Kelsey, I'd say you're up there. I'm a little weird too, but I feel like we're a good balance for each other, you know?
Oh yeah, we all balance each other out. It's great.
Okay, wait. Why were you walking around town in your gear? Like, was it promotional, like to get people to come to games, or was this just for shits and giggles?
A little bit of both. So it really started with my first season and Amanda Levier's first season. She was coming to Buffalo. She had just gotten her brand new like pads when she was back home in Kingston, and she was walking her dog in her goalie equipment, and she like posted it as a joke, being like, only way to break in gears by taking the dog for a walk, whatever. So ironically, her first practice in Buffalo, our team, we had only skated once or twice so far, and no one was talking except for Lev and I. We were like the only two people talking in the locker room. We were talking about that photo. So we jokingly like recreated the photo before practice. And then pretty much the next day we were at my apartment at the time, and we were like, what other cool things can we do in our equipment? Like, this has to be something that we're just going to go out, do random things, have fun with it. So I've gotten kids that I coach involved in it, and it went from being like, okay, let's get the name out there because it was only the second year of the league, to, okay, what can we do that's even crazier, even more fun? We attempted baking a cake.
In your gear?
Yeah, we didn't have the right ingredients, so it didn't turn out very well. I've taught, like, I've gone into, at the time I taught at a refugee agency, so we used that as like a chance for me to go in my gear and teach like a hygiene lesson, things like that. So we've definitely had our fair share of fun with it, and she continues it in Minnesota. So when we get together, that's what we do.
I love it.
It's funny.
And CJ, you're like, I want no part of that. I'm good just like being a little less crazy or weird.
Well, it's actually funny. I was in college when you guys started doing that with the goalies and everything, and the goalie gear and being out in public. And I started following you guys on Instagram and Twitter, and I became huge fans. So when I was introduced to the league last year, and Kelsey, you DM'd me, and you're like, "Hey, welcome," and I was kind of shitting my pants a little bit because like because I had followed you for years, right? I'm like, oh, I know all this stuff about her. Like, I don't want to be weird.
I think if it wasn't COVID times, I feel like we probably would have ended up in our goalie equipment also.
For sure.
I know they're like, Lev and I talked about wanting to try to get something together in Lake Placid, but it just, our schedules never lined up, and the way that they had everything kind of like shut down with COVID and everything, we couldn't really get it to happen. But there's definitely a future for all of us to be in our goalie equipment at the same time real soon.
Good. Do you have like a bucket list of something to do in your goalie equipment? I feel like you should make one, actually.
I mean, so my brother, I think it was either after the first season or the second season, I don't remember, but my brother was getting married, and so he had like his military wedding out in Alaska, and then his actual wedding was in Connecticut where his wife was from. So I actually showed up to the church for the rehearsal in my goalie equipment, and I went through the entire rehearsal as a bridesmaid in my goalie equipment. And luckily the guy that like was walking with me down the aisle, hockey player, but the whole time, this is awful, your gloves stink. So there's like photos of me like putting my gloves like right in his face. And,
oh no,
this is so cool.
Like, I think the only way I could top that is if like I wore it to my own wedding rehearsal, but like
that's
go see what happens.
I think we got to make that happen.
I mean, let's be real, it will probably happen, and I guarantee, like, Lev and I went dress shopping for her dress in goalie, like we have pictures in goalie equipment like outside bridal shops when she got married.
And what did the people at the bridal shop say?
Well, it was in Minnesota, so I feel like they didn't really have that. But
they were just like, oh, come on in, it's fine.
Honestly, I think some of the better reactions that I've gotten, at least, was when there's two little girls that I met when the second year of the league, and they were in Buffalo for like a future NWHL tournament, and they were playing under the Riveters names, and I was coaching a little Buffalo team that was playing as like the Beauts, and one was a player at the time, and the other was a goalie, and I was like fangirling over the both of them. They were both like so good. They were like 8. And I'm like, oh my god, these kids, they're gonna have a great future. And I introduced myself, and I've kept in touch with both of them. And so the following season, they were coming to Buffalo for the summer and just for like a week or whatever. And the one that was a player was also now learning to be a goalie. So she had player gear and everything, and then also the goalie. So they brought all their equipment, and we went to Niagara Falls in our goalie equipment, and on the Buffalo side, and the looks that like some of the people gave us, I was just like, yeah, this is normal. We're real close to Canada. They probably won't care. And they're just like someone wanted us to take a photo with their little boy, and the little boy was definitely afraid of us. He was like 2, wanted nothing to do with us. So that was good looks. And then my dad actually made me cross the border in my goalie equipment. And
what are those, the Canadian Mounties, right?
Well, the Border Patrol. So
okay,
we were in Detroit for like for women's nationals, and it was right before Joe Louis, like the final games at the Joe. And so before we left, my dad and I were like, okay, like let's go downtown. My dad was going to drive back to Buffalo with me. So we went downtown Detroit. There was news people at the Joe, and I'm over here like trying to take pictures of my equipment at the Joe. And I'm like, Dad, no, I can't do it until the news people are gone. Like, I can't do it. So finally, like they left. I walked up the steps, did all this stuff. And my dad's like, well, you guys never did one where you crossed the border. And I was like, well, yeah, because like Lev's Canadian and I'm American, and God only knows what can happen. He was like, no, you're going to keep your equipment on, and we're going to go, because we were driving through Canada to get back to Buffalo. And I was like, no, Dad, like I was kidding about wanting to do that. It was a joke. Yeah, no, he was like, nope, let's go, we're going. So in full gear, I'm like sitting in the front. I had a Kia Soul at the time, so I'm like in my little Kia Soul in the front. We pull up, and the border guy, who my dad drove, the border guy, car, and he's like, are you late for practice? Are you going to a game? Like, and my dad goes, no, this is normal. She just wears her goalie equipment everywhere. Like, do you think you can take a photo with her? And the guy was like, no, that's not what's gonna happen. But like, you guys can definitely like go into Canada, I guess. Like, he was very confused, but nothing bad happened.
Oh my god,
man.
I
feel like you should have said you were like late for practice, so then they would have let you go faster.
Right? But
yeah,
I think for my dad, it was more like, no, it'll be funnier if we say we're actually like not even coming for anything hockey. Like, we're just here to take a photo in her goalie equipment.
I love it. I think we should keep with the shenanigans. So like, what kind of stories do you guys have from your time of being together? Well, we could talk about Lake Placid in the season in a minute, but like, unless there's a good story from that, but give us a good like player story.
CJ, you want to go first?
This one is like, it's kind of funny. I was actually joking about it with my buddy from Maine this morning. I was on the phone with her, and we were just talking about college and like trying to get people to come to our games and trying to get people involved and everything. And we're joking around, and she asked me, she goes, didn't you do this weird thing like on Tinder or something to get people to come to our games? So what I used to do in college is I would go on Tinder and I would swipe right on everybody, guys, girls, like everybody, all the people I could find. And then I would message them and be like, yo, come to our game tomorrow. So in
good.
Boston or New Hampshire or whatever. So I would have a couple people in the stands unknowingly, so that we would get more fans at our games.
That's amazing. I feel like you need to like somehow incorporate that next year. Like,
yeah,
maybe
it worked at least
we can
twice.
pull the team for the single people and be like, if you come to the game, you can win a date with.
Yes. Yes. Is this like funny or sad that this is what you have to do? Like with for the women's sport, because like the guys don't have to do any of this. Like, we've talked to the girls who play at UNE, the University of New England, in Maine, and we were talking about the disparity between the fans at the college games, and they're like, yeah, the guys literally don't have to do anything, and like people just go, but like we're lucky if just our friends show up in the stands. And I was like, I will walk around campus and advocate and put up signs and like tell people to come to the game, but obviously like the fan situation with COVID didn't work out this year, but like that's hysterical, and I think that's a brilliant idea, CJ, that you did that. But like, it's like a little bit of both. Like, it's funny, but it's also like, I think a little bit sad that like,
yeah,
what's happening, or is it not? Tell me if it's not, because like,
yeah,
honestly, I think like, yeah, guys don't have to do that, but I can definitely see the guy hockey players, especially in college, still doing that, even though they don't have to.
Well, they're like, yeah, like they're doing it also to just get laid too. I think. Like, I don't know that was CJ's intention, but like it might have been a happy like byproduct of the thing. But like, I don't know. Is that me being too judgmental on like the differences in between the sport, or?
No,
call me out, because
I think also it kind of also depends on like the school itself. So yeah, no matter what school it is, the girls sports typically don't pull as many fans as the guy sports. But at the same time, like I was at both Clarkson and Plattsburgh, and Clarkson, we still got a good fan base. Like we still had a pep band. I remember my freshman year, we made it to NCAA tournaments, and our first round, we were out in Minnesota, and the pep band actually, like guys from the pep band drove from Potsdam, New York to Minnesota just so they could be like at the games. But at the same time, like I've seen it where it's just all the fans go to the guys games. Half the time they don't notice there's a women's team and things like that. I think at the D1 level, it's a little, you definitely get more fans, I would say, than you do at the D3, but I think some of the like higher end D3 schools that have really good girls programs still pull really like a really good fan base. Even at Plattsburgh, we had a really good fan base.
Yeah. I'm such an advocate for the women's like professional hockey leagues and sport that like I'm all for the like Tinder advertising. Like
we have so many different ones we can also advertise on.
Oh my god.
We gotta get across all of them.
We gotta get on like farmers and what is that, farmers only? Like we gotta get profiles on all of them, and just
which
like,
teammate are we putting on farmers only?
Yeah. Yeah. Who would you put on there? Okay, CJ, you got Tinder covered.
You can just dress me up. We can do a photo shoot.
Yes. No, I want Kelsey in her goalie gear, but without skates. I want you in cowboy boots, and you can borrow mine and a cowboy hat on top of your helmet, and like that's the photo.
So
it's planned.
So when I used to be on dating sites, you know, like you got to pick your photos or whatever.
Oh yeah.
I was always like like before I met Lav and everything, I was always like, okay, like I don't really want to put a hockey photo because half the time you get the stupid things of like, oh, I bet I could score on you or blah blah blah. And then after I met Lev, it's like, okay, well now I have these photos where like I'm doing random ass shit in my goalie equipment. So I would put at least one of them like on a profile, and people would be like, I don't get it. Why are you I'm like, oh, well, you know, like if you want, we can go on a date. I'll wear it. Like kind of thing. Never had to do that though, unfortunately. But like, I figured it was a better way for them to be like, okay, she's odd. Like, let's see what happens.
Or maybe you just need to say, well, if you don't get it, then you don't get the time with me.
I usually didn't answer the ones that I was like, okay, well, goodbye.
Yeah, those guys clearly don't have a sense of humor, so like you're gonna delete that chat. Change. Yes, dump and change. Oh my god, I want to do that. I want to just get on Tinder again, and just so I can be like dump, change, like while I'm swiping. Like I just want to say that in my head. Is that weird? That's weird.
No, it's not weird at all.
We support it.
Okay, Kelsey, give us the story. I mean, I feel like you've already given us like 20, but like, do you have anything funny that you want to share?
I don't
or
know.
or like
mean-
pranks, or like, I mean, you're clearly very creative and free with your humor.
I feel like our team really, like, we didn't really prank each other, especially not this year, but even in like previous seasons, I really don't think we pulled many pranks unless you count our goalie equipment shenanigans, which people like, obviously. I mean, when my first year, when we were getting ready for the playoffs, it was Lev, Brianne McLaughlin, and I, and we made Kelly Stedman come with us. And I think there was one or two other players that were with us. And we went to one of the smaller malls here in Buffalo, and we were like, okay, there's a Made in America store. Lev's Canadian, Brie and I are American. Let's take photos in front of that. So like Lev's laying on the ground, Brie and I have a leg on top of her. And we're like, yeah, we're strong. And then we took a photo in front of Victoria's Secret, and we were like, and then we tweeted it after our first playoff win, and we were like, our cup size is Isabel or whatever. And it's hilarious because I'm pretty sure that is still pinned on Lev's Twitter, because I still like, this is what, 3-4 years later, I still get notifications on Twitter, and it's like, so and so liked your photo, and then I'm like, what photo? I haven't posted anything. And then I like go and look, and I'm like, oh, Isabel Cup one, got it, great, awesome. So that one's still, I think, a fan favorite of everyone's.
That's brilliant.
It's pretty good.
Lev is definitely the pun master, so give her
a good pun. A good pun's great. So describe your guys' process to get to where you are.
Yeah, so I'll go first, I guess.
Yeah, because I feel like the path for women getting into the league now is so different than the journey for the guys, you know. So we'd like to hear how it worked for you, or like your mentors who helped you get where you are. Go ahead, CJ.
So I grew up in Nova Scotia, and I actually played boys hockey there until I went to the University of Maine. So that was until I was 18 or 19. I ended up playing like in minor hockey systems. I went to a couple different communities just to play with the boys, play at higher levels. And then when I hit 17 years old, I played junior B in a men's league, and that was pretty awesome. And then I ended up going to Maine. So I was there for 5 years. I redshirted my first year, and then I played out my 4 years of eligibility. And then after I graduated from Maine, I got drafted 3rd overall to the Beauts, and I just finished my first season. So I'm pretty happy.
Kind of a big deal, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
You're so nice to me.
That's, yeah.
It's pretty amazing.
Thank you, my friend.
I'm going to throw you out there for you, Siege.
I love the camaraderie. What was your experience, Kelsey?
Mine. So I'm definitely older than CJ. But growing up, I actually started playing hockey in San Antonio, Texas. I have an older brother. Yeah, like no one expects San Antonio, Texas. That's the fun part of it. And I started playing when I was like 4. The coach who used to coach for the Hurricanes, Bill Peters, was in San Antonio when I actually started playing hockey and stuff, because his wife was there for nursing rotation and stuff. So he's known my like dad and my family since I was about 4. And then I kind of got into goaltending because I didn't want to watch my brother at hockey camp. But being in San Antonio, there really wasn't a lot of hockey. We had one rink that had 2 sheets of ice. One was actual NHL length, and if the Zamboni broke down on it, they just put cones around it, and then you still practiced. It was real entertaining. And then there, so obviously I was playing with the boys, and typically with boys that were older. And then from there we moved to Dallas, because my dad was born and raised in Dallas-Fort Worth. I played boys hockey there, and my parents started the first 12U girls team in Dallas, actually, because our first year there, I was 8 or 9 playing on a 15U girls team, as well as like my squirt travel team. Whoa. I didn't play a lot of games or anything, but my mom didn't like what I was learning in the locker room.
From the older girls, I'm guessing.
What did you learn?
Well, it's funny because right now, like I coach a lot, and so I'm sitting here with like my 10U teams, boys and girls. I'm like, why can't you guys tie your own skates? Like, why is this? apparently it's a normal thing, but my mom made sure after about a week of coming in to help me tie my skates and put my pads on that I knew how to do it, so she didn't have to hear the conversations. And then going into my second year of Pee Wee, we actually moved up to Michigan for my brother and I to play on AAA teams. So like CJ, I played boys AAA, both in Michigan and then Wisconsin. And then I went to the North American Hockey Academy, which used to be in Stowe, Vermont. Now it's in Boston. And from sophomore year until all the way through senior year before I went off to college. Then I went to Clarkson, played there for about a year and a half, followed by Plattsburgh for about a year. And then I actually left the team at Plattsburgh because of some personal reasons, some bullying going on and not so great things, and wasn't loving the game anymore. So when I moved to Buffalo, it was for grad school. I didn't come here to play in the league. The league wasn't a thing yet. So after my first year of grad school is when the league kind of became what it is. And so I was coaching, and Shelly Looney was the head coach of the Beauts, and she was the director of hockey for the group that I was working with, the Buffalo Bisons at the time. And she, I saw her the one day at the rink, and I was like, hey, Shelly, like, I hear the Canadian goalies having a hard time with visa. So if you ever need a goalie, let me know, like, I'll come practice. So I filled in a few times and got to know the girls and everything. So then the following year, I went to like a free agent camp because they already had Bree coming back. They already signed Lev. So I was signed on as the practice goalie, and I've been working for it since. And I took 1 year off and then came back the last season and then this season. So it's been a process. I mean, I play beer league to stay in shape and have a great time with that, but it's been a journey, and it's a journey that I wouldn't trade for the world.
That's awesome. Did either one of you play with Julia Iafallo?
I didn't play with her, but I know her.
Okay. Oh, okay.
So I know his dad really well. He does a lot of the skill stuff did a lot of the skill stuff with the Buffalo Bisons girls program. Great family. Yeah. I played against Alex though. That was fun.
Alex. He was on
my team.
Okay. Yeah, because he just signed an extension with the Kings, which is huge. Kings fans love him.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, there used to be, obviously COVID's kind of affected it, but there used to be a league called the FHL, which kind of like the beauty league that Minnesota has, where like all the guys come back and play. Mm-hmm. The FHL is that here in Buffalo. So it's like a bunch of college guys, junior guys, NHL guys. And I subbed for it the one summer and ended up playing on Alex's team, but against Darlene and Middlestat. And I was like, oh, okay, it's fine. So there's a great video of Darlene like deking around a 15-year-old boy and then just making me look like I suck at hockey. But
oh my God.
It's okay. I did make at least one save on him. It's fine.
Hey, that's what you lead with.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Tell us then, briefly your thoughts on this very weird condensed season and the obviously if people know there was a tournament in Lake Placid, a condensed like sort of playoff thing, and then too many COVID cases, and then finally there was a championship game, which was great. And the big thing was that the game was on NBC Sports, on top of being on Twitch, where you guys have a really big following. How do you describe like all of the crazy things, both like, positive and negative, that went on this season in the last like few months?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it was such a whirlwind. It was just every day you wake up and, you just do the best you can with everything that you have. Especially with COVID, we kind of just didn't really know what was going to happen. Like every single day was, for the most part, we just tried to do everything in our control to stay healthy, stay safe, stay distant, but still have the best time possible.
I think our team, it was also different. Like all the other teams, it seemed like because they didn't have as many players from Canada or whatever. So like they were able to have their team practices, like regular team practices, whereas our team started the year off with like most of the Canadians practicing on the Canadian side, and then the ones that were in Buffalo are practicing here. And I think going into Lake Placid, we probably had 10, maybe more practices where it was like all of us.
Oh, God.
So it was still new for us. And I think the nice part was just seeing how quickly we all came together as a family. And you could tell, like, that first practice where we all finally came together, you could tell, like, okay, the Canadian girls were really close. The girls in Buffalo were really close, but it didn't matter. Like CJ said, the three goalies, we right away were like, okay, what are we going to do? Whereas like the whole team was like that. And that was a really fun thing to watch.
Yeah. How do you
That's
think this is going to help with, getting the NBC Sports deal was really important for the future of the sport in general.
It's a huge thing for the league, and
Yeah.
it's a huge success. And I mean, I know so I don't have like cable. I do a lot of just like stream Netflix, whatever. So trying to get NBC Sports, like, without having a
Right.
cable company, I was freaking out. I'm like, I need to watch these games. Like, I got to help with the viewership, and I wanted to watch the games, and it wasn't working downstairs. So I had to figure out how to get it on the TV up here. But so that was an entertaining time, but I figured it out. So I'm happy about that.
That's crazy. So where do you guys see the sport and the women's side of it going, over the next couple of years? Do you think there's going to be like some positive things with everything going on, or do you think, with the COVID year, do you think it's kind of stepped back a little bit?
I think COVID has delayed the progress of women's hockey, but I wouldn't say that it stopped it.
Right.
I think it has slowed down compared to, say, COVID didn't exist. I think we would have grown a lot more this past season just because of our frequency of events, right? So I think that regardless of COVID, we still made steps in the right direction. I like to think that in the next 5-10 years, this is going to be able to be a full-time gig for us. And hopefully there's some more teams. There's more opportunities for the best players to play. And, we get supported the way that we need to, so that we can train full-time. And then that way the product will be even more entertaining. So that's where I see the game going. I know personally that's where I want it to be by the time I leave. So that's the plan.
Good plan. Because you guys,
Yeah, we'll see.
do you have to have like a job on the side currently, or are you guys just focused on hockey?
Oh, I wish I was. No, I'm kidding. I love my actual job. I'm a third grade teacher during the day. So for me, it's like CJ saying, like, when I started being a part of this league, even in the first year, like with practices, helping out at the games, whatever, it was never about what I was going to get paid out of it. It's always for me been, what is it going to be like for the girls that I'm coaching now that are 7 to 18? Like, what's it going to be like for them when it's their turn to come and play in the league and make it better? And I think being around since season 1, I've seen such a huge growth, and the strides that they've made all the way through to this last season. I can't wait to see what season 7 has in store, because they've steadily like raised pay and everything like that. So the NWHL is definitely making all the right strides. They're finding the partnerships, they're finding viewership, and that's all we could ever ask for.
If you could give like one tiny opinion to like help grow the sport, what, in your opinion, what would you say would help tremendously boost that up?
People just not being so like closed-minded, I would say, because as a hockey player in general, a lot of times it's like, oh, a girl, like, okay, she play hockey. And as a goalie, I think it might be a little worse. Like I said, I filled in for the FHL and stuff, and I remember my first game, I was actually playing on Gergeson's team. And I was like the first one out on the ice for warmups, and he was the second one. And his first few shots, he just kind of like, he didn't like flutter them at me, but he definitely wasn't shooting them at me. And I'm like, what are you
Yeah.
And then he watched like 2 or 3 like college D1 guys come in and just rip shots, and I was fine. And he was like, oh, okay, now I know. Okay, I can shoot. I'm like, yeah, I got a braid. I don't care. Like, I have padding on. I'll be okay. Just shoot the puck. kind of thing. And I think when we see comments online and stuff, it's the negative ones are typically from closed-minded people, and sometimes it's males and sometimes it's females. So I think having people be way more open-minded about actually giving the game a chance instead of just saying like, oh, it's girls, they're going to be slow. Oh, there's no hitting. Why would I want to watch that?
Kelsey,
I've seen hitting and you guys aren't fucking slow. So anyway.
I mean, even in like when I used to also play for a women's team out of North Carolina that would like go and compete in USA Hockey Nationals. And the last one that I went to was we were out in Anaheim and we were playing against the Anaheim women's team. And one of our players actually like body checked one of their girls into our bench. Like, and I'm like, oh, okay, here we are. This is the tone of the game today. And I mean, even watching college games and NWHL games and things like that, like you can see that we're still physical. Are we making open ice hits? We try not to because we know better. Doesn't mean it doesn't happen. I've seen my fair share. But right. I mean, it's still going to happen. But at the same time, it's the mindset, I think. And as a coach, watching younger kids, especially when I'm with the boys teams, watching them learning how to like angle the player off instead of just going for the body before they're able to learn how to check. That's what we do in the game. And I think it takes a extra level of intelligence to be able to say, okay, like I'm not just going to go and just completely demolish this person in the board. Instead, I'm going to angle them off of the puck. I'm going to angle them into the boards using my body, but in a smart way.
Yeah. CJ, I didn't mean to cut you off. What were you going to say?
No, it's okay. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was thinking of the comment you made, Kelsey, about how you had a braid, and an interesting experience that I've had is, of course, growing up, when people see the ponytail, you know, and you go on the ice as a goalie, they're flicking shots at you because they're like, oh, I don't want to hurt you. But it's actually quite unbelievable. Ever since I cut my hair, it's completely different. Like if no one knows that I'm a girl, then it's so different. So growing up my whole life, I had long hair. So I was so used to, you know, coming on the ice and always having to prove myself that, you know, or tell people you can shoot harder, or at least challenge them until they figured it out on their own. But once I cut all my hair off, nobody knew. So it changed. The first time I went on the ice with short hair, I was like, oh shit, this is fun. Like it was competitive right off the bat. It was no like working your way into it. It was crazy, but it's crazy what a difference it can make just because some hair's coming out of the back of your helmet.
Yeah. And I mean, like for me, it wasn't until I got my recent mask. There was a period, like when I was at prep school, I definitely had my hair lower. It would be in like a ponytail, a bun, or a braid. But then after college, when I moved to Buffalo and stuff, I started playing with like a really high ponytail that was then put into a braid. So like, if anything, it was like a little like rat tail looking thing coming out of my helmet, because I'm like, I was getting really annoyed just at like pickup hockey, like midday lunch pickup hockey. These guys that were playing beer league, like C or whatever, still seeing me and being like, okay, here you go. Let me just pass it to you. And when I played boys hockey, I would get annoyed because my teammates during drills would try to like shoot pucks at the side of the net, to the point where my dad was like, shoot the puck back at him. So during like pickup and open skate type things, if a guy did that to me, I would take the puck and I just fire it back at him. And I'm like, no, I'm not here. I'm not a little girl. I'm not here for you to just pass me the puck. Like, here to play hockey. Let's go, kind of thing. So, I mean, CJ's got a great point. They see a ponytail walking into the rink and they're like, oh, okay, it's a little girl. It doesn't matter what our age is. They automatically think like we're a little girl.
Yeah.
Gosh, I feel really conflicted about this, and I'm going to talk through my thoughts with you guys, but it's like, it's sort of like you almost have to do that now for the beginning of like the growth of this sport, from what you're saying with your own experiences, that like the game isn't yet at a place, or society isn't yet at a place where you can walk out on the ice with a ponytail or a braid down the back and not have people assuming and just like softing pucks to you. Like it's sort of frustrating that like you now get the respect because they can't tell your gender, but like on the other side of it, it's like I'm sure you wish you could just be like full on like pink nails and like or whatever that looks like. Right. I don't know about pink nails, but
I would
like
like pink
at
nails.
least okay, there you go. So like Carly wants the pink nails, you want a ponytail
And a pink dress.
what?
Carly also wants the pink dress. It's fine.
I do.
See?
I like sparkly nails. Those are my fave.
Okay, so like, you know, if you could do like a sparkly eyeshadow, like that was like underneath your helmet. I mean, like just being able to express whatever that looks like, whoever you are to you in whatever feminine angle. Like I just like it gives me conflicting feelings and I'm not really sure I'm making a point here, but
No, you are. And I think not to cut you off, but I think one thing that's really interesting to me now as a coach, and I never thought about it when I was playing boys hockey growing up, but and I'm sure CJ can attest to this too, like when I started playing boys hockey, my teammates were never like, oh, she's a girl. Like my teammates in Michigan actually sat there, were like, you're not a girl, you're just a really cool guy with long hair. Oh, yes. Okay. And at like 13 years old, I'm like, I don't know that I want to be called that, but whatever, here we are. But it was never like my teammates were never the issue. They were never like, oh, she's a girl, let me shoot easy on her. And at tryouts, it was never like that. It wasn't, honestly, for me, it wasn't until I was older and I would come back from prep school for the summer, or like adults were trying to shoot on me, and then like beer league type stuff and adult pickup games and things like that, that it was an issue. And I have girls that play on boys teams right now, and I typically tell a lot of families that I see with a girl goalie on a boys team, I say stick with the boys as long as possible. Mm-hmm. They have that advantage over the players because there's no checking. But I watch how their teammates are and how their coaches are, and they don't see them as anyone but a hockey player. So it's hard for me, I think, as a coach and a player to sit here and know, okay, I went through it and they were fine. Like I was never viewed any differently until I was an adult. So where did that disconnect happen? Like, did it become a thing where like, oh, it's a girl, like I got to be easy on her? Because it wasn't like that. I remember playing boys AAA, and when I lived in Wisconsin, I played with Amanda Kessel. Like we were the two girls on our team. Brianna Decker played on one of the other boys teams. Alex Rigsby played on her team. There was another female goalie on a team out of Chicago, and the guys all treated us exactly like the same. They would check the players. They would go hard at the net against myself, Rigsby, and the other female goalie. But it's like, when did that stop being normal for them in a way?
I would say, I think you kind of just said it. Like when you step on the ice, it doesn't matter what your gender is. Like you should just be seen as a hockey player. And I think anyone who steps on the ice, you know, it's a physical sport. It's tough. You're going to get hit hard. Like, I mean, it's a tough sport. So like, it doesn't matter what your gender is. If you're stepping on the ice, like you're welcoming all of that. Do your hardest shots, do your hits, play hockey as normal. Because I mean, I don't physically play, but like if I were to step on the ice, like I would know, okay, well, I'm now on skates on the ice. I'm going to get hit. Like, let's just be real. Right. And I don't think that anybody should look at it as, oh, I got to be soft on you because, oh, I see like a braid or whatever. It's like, oh, you're on the ice, you're fair game. Like,
exactly.
But maybe that's my opinion. I don't know.
No, that's honestly, I feel like the opinion that, especially on the guy side, like the guy coaches of my boys teams, because I would play against Amanda and Brianna when I lived in Michigan. We were still in the same league, and it was always, I don't care if she's got a ponytail, you check her. There's checking right now. Like, you can check her, because there was every once in a while the boy that would be like, oh, she's cute, like I don't want to hit her. And my dad would be one of those coaches that's like, you're on the ice, she's a hockey player, just hit the girl. Like it's fine. Like you can think she's cute when you get off the ice, but on the ice she's not cute, she's a hockey player, hit the person. And I think also it comes down to the coaching at times too. Like a lot of coaches on the girls' side, I think the female coaches definitely like understand, treat them as hockey players, not as little girls, and there's a lot of male coaches that do too, but there's also a lot of male coaches that forget they're hockey players the minute they step on the ice. They're not little girls. Like treat them as you would the boys that are their same age kind of thing.
And I think also the parents. I think the parents need to be aware and, empowering their kids. I mean, I know parents have a ton on their plate, but,
Right.
especially if they have girls playing, I mean, I think there's an extra level of communication and knowledge and awareness that has to be present to also help. This will also help the sport grow as a whole too, and make a difference. So I think a lot of it lies in the coaching and the parents' hands for the younger kids especially.
I think like the inclusivity inclusivity, the inclusion, the inclusion of like in sport is like one of the most special things. Like Kelsey, when you're describing that it didn't matter. When you reached a point where it didn't matter if you're a girl, your teammates treated you the same, your coaches treated you the same. You were welcome. And I think that's such a special part about sport. And I think that's what makes it so amazing. I think right now that's a really awesome good side of it. But I think on the other end, there's a lot of challenges because it seems like you'll get to that point eventually, but there's so many barriers that people have to jump through, in terms of, let alone, let's say, being a girl in a male dominated sport. What about someone who's non-binary, right? Having to explain that to somebody that's a barrier. And I think at some point, the beauty of sport is you will be included, and, it is that really special place where you can go and it just erases all your worries from the world and you're just a hockey player and it's the best thing ever. But I don't think we're there yet for everybody. And there's a lot of work to do to get there. And I think it's going to be really special, but we have some work to do in terms of the hockey community and welcoming everyone with open arms.
Right. And I think that's one of the differences on the female side versus the male side. I think, and I'm not saying like the NHL isn't inclusive or anything like that by any means, but I think both the PWHPA,
I always butcher it. There's so many letters.
and our league, the NWHL, I think both groups have done a really good job of getting that message out there of, hey, we are here for everyone. It doesn't matter what you identify as or your sexual orientation, like you will be welcomed here, kind of thing, which is fantastic. And I think that's a huge step. And I think especially for the younger kids, that especially before they start checking, they don't start checking now until like Bantam, so like 14 years old. But for those younger teams, I think having them come and like check out our games and check out the P-Dub and things like that, they get to learn more about how inclusive we are and all of that stuff, as well as watch a game that's more along the speed and the concepts of their own like level that they're at, because we aren't checking, they can't check yet. They have to learn to be more a finesse player than a goon, so to speak, or whatever. So they learn a lot when they come to our games. Like I know a few of the boys teams that I work with, like the goalies especially, but the players are even like, oh, Coach Kelsey, like I'm going to the game, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, great. Like I'll see you there. Okay. Let me know what you thought of it after. And then like the next practice, they're telling me all about it, kind of thing. So it's always fun to especially see the boys teams come to the game and see the difference in that versus like a Sabres game. So.
That's
Definitely.
a lot of work to do. And I think also showcasing y'all's personalities and your
personalities.
Yes. And gosh, I think the women have more personality than some of the guys, because I think also the men haven't been allowed to show that because of the way the NHL is and how much of a...
We don't have as strict of... I mean, we have rules, obviously, but like we're allowed to be free to be ourselves. Like we don't have to hide behind it. But I think the best part about hockey in general is just how much a hockey player, whether it's an NHL player, an NWHL player, college player, how much they love to like give back to their communities and their sport and things like that is one of the best parts about hockey. And I think for us, we get to kind of do it a lot more because we don't have such big spotlights. So that's something that I hope as the league grows, we continue to still allow the players those chances to be in the community without a big spotlight put on them.
I think that's something that we've talked about before on the podcast is what can help grow the sport. And we've said it multiple times that having the players show their personalities will make fans connect with the players and the team more. And I think that, you just said it, the same exact thing. I think is as long as you can show a personality, it's going to do great things.
Right.
I think it's really neat too how I've noticed this particularly in the past year, but how women hockey players tend to reach actually a bit of a wider audience, because for most of us, we're not just hockey players. So I think a good example is, so I got a job at New Balance this fall, and I have an amazing team of coworkers. Not many of them know much about hockey though. So when we played in Lake Placid, we had a group chat, and a bunch of them had watched hockey for the first time, or for, one of the few times, but it was so cool because I had all these friends from a different aspect of my life that had nothing to do with hockey. And I was able to, kind of include them in something, and they learned about something they'd never known before. And I never would have reached that audience if I had never had to work that job. You know what I mean? So it's really interesting to see like how we can reach other people. And we have so many people in the league that do tons of different things. Like we have doctors and engineers and veterinarians and cops and everything. Like it's really cool.
Yeah. And I think like CJ is saying, I know I'm not the only teacher in the league. I think almost every team has a teacher on it, which I think is really funny that at least every team has a teacher. But that's another way that like it's a unique opportunity. Is it hard having to balance another full-time job on top of your training and everything? Yes, but at the same time, it's another way for us to get the word out there. So like before I went to Lake Placid for Christmas, I had the parents in my class help. I have 18 students, and they chipped in, and I put a good amount in, and we got all of the kids for Christmas a Beauts shirt with my name on it. And so right the day before I left, like we had Neumann shirt day for my class and things like that. But like some of my kids that I had last year also bought shirts. So they also had little Neumann shirts, and like they wore them. And when we were in Lake Placid, I know I was getting texts at times that I was laughing at, because some of the parents were like, my kid wants to know why you're not playing. And I'm like, no, because CJ's awesome. Like CJ should be playing. Like no, I should not be playing. CJ's got this kind of thing. But like the kids don't get it. Right. But at the same time, it wasn't about whether I was playing or not. For the kids, like getting texts from like the parents or even the kids who figured out how to message me on like Google Classroom, telling me like, I watched the game last night, like tell your team blah blah blah, and like this and that, and like that made it that much more special. So to be able to reach that many people in general, what like through our other professions, helps us every day.
Okay, favorite hockey hunk?
Carey Price.
Did you say hunk or hug?
Yeah. Back to CJ, obviously. CJ for Carey Price.
I'm going to switch it up. I'm going to go with Jeremy Swayman because he's killing it right now and he's my buddy.
Yeah, he is.
He's playing for the Bruins right now.
Nice.
I don't like his team, but like I support him.
Yeah, I like him too.
Favorite hockey lady?
Allison Mattel.
I was going to say you're going to say her. I'll go with Lev.
All right.
Breezy, you go with the last two questions.
All right, the last two. Well, we ask everybody this just because, well, it comes up too often. So do either one of you have or do both of you have a Sidney Crosby story?
Sidney Crosby story?
Like about him, with him?
Interacting, meeting him. CJ, have you run into him on the island?
So, yeah, I'm actually from Nova Scotia, so where Crosby was born and raised. I'm actually buddies with his sister. We used to train together and compete together and everything, and she's awesome. The family's so nice. I've never actually met Sid.
I didn't know she had a sister. Did you know that, Breezy?
Yeah.
I didn't know
she's
that.
awesome.
Yeah, because she was on the ice during his 1,000th game or something, wasn't she? Yeah,
I think so. Yeah, and she was a goalie. She played at St. Cloud State, and I think she was a year older than me growing up. So we always used to we would train together or whatever, just probably once or twice a year. But they're honestly such a nice family. Super cool.
I can't say that I've met anyone from the Crosby family, but I have met people from other NHL families, but not Crosby family.
Well, do you have a story you want to share with us from interacting with somebody else?
Yeah, like the Kessels.
So Phil has like always been like really shy. Like I didn't interact with him a lot, but I do remember the year that I played in Wisconsin with Amanda before we both went to prep school. We had a team Christmas party, and Phil was at Minnesota at the time. Like that's where he was still playing, and he was sitting at home, and all the boys, like Phil was down in the basement, and all the boys were like, Amanda, is Phil here? Like, because everyone knew who Phil was from our coach, because our coach apparently had coached him also. And Amanda's like, yeah, he's downstairs, whatever. So like our whole team goes downstairs, and Phil's sitting there like playing a video game, and all the boys are just like, oh my God, it's Phil. I'm like, half of you have known him since you've like been playing with Amanda this whole time. And Amanda's just like, yeah, it's Phil. Like he's playing a video game. I don't care. And then
she's like, that's my loser brother playing a video game. Like, can we go have fun, please? Thanks. Yeah.
It was. I always like thought it was hilarious because our coach, like before games, would be like, oh, and then when I coached Phil, blah blah blah, and she actually like turned one time and was like, yeah, we get it. You coached Phil. Like Phil's not here. He's in Minnesota. Like, let's move on, kind of thing. And I'm like, siblings, got it. Awesome.
Yep. That's funny. All right. Well, our last question is a new segment we just started, 3 weeks ago? I guess it would be 3 weeks ago. I am a huge conspiracy theorist, paranormal freak, serial killer, all that stuff. So do you guys have
wait. She's not a serial killer. Wait, that came out wrong.
Oh yeah, no, that came out wrong.
I mean, so you just like announced it on our
just announced it.
It's out there.
Yeah,
she likes watching serial killer documentaries.
That's
there
fair.
We go.
Okay.
There we go.
Yeah.
Okay, carry on. I had to clarify.
Now I'm just on a serial killer kick, apparently. I don't know. This is so bad. Do you guys have a paranormal or like a alien story?
I was thinking about this yesterday. It's less.
Well, thanks for preparing me, CJ.
Sorry, my area's in lockdown, so I've had a lot of free time to just think about things. Anyway, so yesterday, it's less alien, but more like supernatural-ish. Okay. Have you heard of Megalodon?
Yes.
I love sharks. I think they're so cool. So Megalodon is like this prehistoric shark that was just humongous, this huge shark that lived in the Marianas Trench. It was like 60 feet long, something like that. Anyway, there was a video I watched yesterday trying to debunk it, whether if it was real or if it existed. And anyway, I'm on team Megalodon sharks in the Marianas Trench.
I'm on team.
All right. Any other paranormal, scientific, whatever kind of stories? Deep sea creature stories?
Kelsey, do you have any?
I don't think I have any.
That's okay.
I mean, like I lived in Vermont and Lake Champlain. They say that there's like the Champlain monster. I can't remember what its name is, but I remember like taking the ferry in high school, and then when I was at Plattsburgh, and you take the ferry like from Plattsburgh to Burlington back and forth and things like that. And I always like wondered. I just never got around to looking into it more. But I definitely like am curious about it, if it's there or not.
I forget what it's called. I have a friend who's from
Nessie?
Plattsburgh. Yes.
Is it Nessie?
Yes.
I don't know why that comes to mind, but I feel like that's it.
Yeah. Well, she's a big advocate that she exists, that she, whatever, Nessie exists.
Animal exists.
Yes.
I feel like there's something in there.
For sure.
On that ferry, there's definitely something in Lake Champlain.
It could be a megalodon or some variation of a megalodon. Who knows? Anyway, that's it, guys. Thanks so much. Tell everybody where they can follow you guys on the social medias.
CJ?
Yeah. On Twitter, you can follow me at Tough Mustard. It's spelled TUFF, mustard, all one word. And my Instagram is Carly Jackson 97.
And my Twitter is Lil Numi, and my Instagram is Lil Numi 31.
And the Buffalo Beauts.
Our Instagram at
Oh yeah, that thing.
Oh yeah,
that
the Buffalo
thing.
Beauts. We should probably plug that. I believe that our Instagram handle is at Buffalo Beauts. Honestly, I think the Twitter.
I think so too.
I have a shut the front door. It is not at all hockey related.
Oh.
I went to put on my headband last night to put my hair back so I could wash my face. And I went to put my hair up like this and I felt up the back of my neck. And I thought, ooh, what is that on the back of my neck at the bottom of my hair? And I tried to pull it off and it wasn't coming off. And thank God Antoni was here. And I went, Antoni, there's something on the back of my neck. I don't know what it is. I can't see it and I can't get it off. What is it? And it was a tick.
I was going to say, you have a tick?
Breezy, I had a tick on the back of my head. I have never in my many years of life ever had a tick on my person.
Did it bite you?
You know what? She said there's nothing there. She pulled it off. It didn't burrow. It wasn't in there very long and there was nothing there. But it might have bit me. I mean, that's what they do, right?
Yeah. Oh no. You know what happens when ticks bite you?
What?
Don't you get Lyme disease?
I don't think everybody gets Lyme disease.
Oh dear God, I hope not.
If that was the case, like everybody would have Lyme disease.
True. Can't believe you had a tick on your neck.
Girl, you're telling me. So then...
Where'd you pick it up from? Were you like rolling around in the grass?
We live in the woods.
Were you rolling around with Ringo?
No.
Like, I'm being a squirrel.
No, I was not rolling around in the woods. Ringo had one on his leg, and he sleeps in the bed with me. And it must have crawled off of him or jumped on. I don't know. It was on Ringo, and it got on me.
Screw you, Ringo. I'm going to your mom.
I was just like absolutely mortified. And then the one on him, I needed, again, like 10 minutes later, Antoni, I need your help. There's a tick on Ringo. I need your help. She's like, I'm coming. I'm bringing the tweezers. And we got it off of him. And it didn't burrow. And he's on tick medication. But, you know, they don't make tick medication for humans, I don't think.
No, they don't. Yeah.
But yeah, I was like, check the rest of my hair. Check everywhere. You know, I was like, look make sure. Are you sure? She's like, you're fine. It didn't do anything. I'm like, okay. So,
boy.
So that's happening. Now I'm like rethinking my love for nature.
It was just one tick. I mean, you're going to be fine.
As you are like, you're going to have Lyme disease. But you're going to be fine. You're going to just have Lyme disease and have like all kinds of issues.
You're going to be fine. It's not a big deal. Not everyone gets Lyme disease or else everyone would have Lyme disease.
Right. I make good points. Anyway,
yes.
that was a fun little experience.
A couple weeks ago, it actually was documented on it made it to TMZ, actually. I'll say that. It made it to TMZ. Someone was driving on the freeway between, it was probably I want to say it was the 101 freeway. It was in Westlake, TO area, which is very close to my house. Fun fact, Trevor Moore for the LA Kings is from Thousand Oaks, California. Super cool, hometown boy. So they're driving. So TO is a good 10 minutes away from my house. So my sister-in-law is actually from TO. So that if it, kind of connects how close this is. But someone was recording that they had a UFO over the 101 freeway in between TO and Westlake.
What?
Like I said, it made it to TMZ, and there were some sightings. I think multiple people had seen it, and I could find the thing. I could send you a little clip of what was captured.
What people did it look like?
Look like a light that was like circular shaped almost.
Mm-hmm.
People tried to debunk it, said maybe it could be like reflection of some headlights. maybe a reflection of like a flash in a cell phone or something in the windshield. No one can really say much. They're just saying that, yeah, it's probably a UFO. But I feel like in this general, like, northern side of LA area that I live in, you know, there's like the Westlake, the TO, the Calabasas, that general area. Calabasas is well known for the Kardashians. That's where they live. There's a lot of UFO sightings, but not everybody like makes them. And just over this hill, I think I told you guys about the lights that my friend Zach had captured. So that overlooks like this little park area that we actually went and took our photo shoot in. There's been sightings over there as well. Some guy was taking some pictures because there's fires that happen, brush fires all the time there. Some guy he likes taking photos of like fire, like copters and airplanes and the airdrops and whatnot. And he snapped a photo on like a DSLR of, I think it was a helicopter. And in the corner was a little cylinder, like little object thing, silver shaped. It was like, unedited.
Like
nothing.
That traditional flying saucer kind of thing that we're all imagining when we hear UFO, that circular pancake with the little ball on top, like Saturn, the planet.
Yeah. So that was captured in his photo, and it was unedited, nothing, no Photoshop. It was just straight off of his DSLR. And it's just kind of crazy to think that, I think people don't pay enough attention to the sky. And I think if you really pay attention, or if you just start taking pictures, like you're gonna see something. And so it's really fascinating actually. And
look up, everybody. Look up.
Yeah.
And watch out for ticks.
Watch out for ticks. Yeah.
Thanks for coming over to our House of Hockey podcast and hanging out with us. We'll be back next week with a brand new episode. And in the meantime, you can follow us on social media. Just look for House of Hockey podcast. We'll be back next week.